Okay, we're live and ready to jive, baby. Let's see. Boom. What is going on, guys? We are live. This is a nice little random midweek stream. Listen, today has been a day. I'm not gonna lie. We my AC went out. Come to find out, a capacitor uh I can't, what is the word? Went bad. I gotta use TikTok TOS language. Anyway, we had a capacitor go bad on our compressor or whatever outside for HVAC unit. So it's been like 90 degrees in my house. Or I think the highest got up to was like 87, 88 on my little thermostat. So it was hot, dude. And my wife went to go stay with her mom. So we got a little free time here. Got the HVAC guy over here. He came over here and fixed it. Nice and easy. It's finally cooling off in my house. Praise the Lord. So, but also I do have a fan blowing in here. So if y'all hear wind noise, which you shouldn't, I have the kind of noise cancel turned on, but so you guys shouldn't be able to hear the fan, hopefully. But yeah, so Saint, I've heard that they've, like, you can say murder, rape, all the bad buzzwords from the past, but I think about like the boom boom words, like I guess I can just say blow up. I don't know, like explode. Like, what's the worst that can happen? They take it down and then watch it's gonna shut down. But anyway, yeah, so a capacitor blew up or something, went bad. I don't know, on the side of our compressor outside. So it was still like a solid like 85, 84 in here a few minutes ago. So before I hopped on, so it's still a little warm. Imagine, just shuts down. Yeah. But yeah. So anyway, if nerd said you couldn't hear the fan, so that's good. But anyway, we have a free night tonight because my wife's not here. She took herself and the baby go see her mom, stay there for tonight because we thought it might be tomorrow before they get here. But dude came out at 8 p.m. or whatever, 8:30, got done real quick. Praise the Lord. So it's finally cooling off in here. But it was like 106 today too at the peak. And dude, I was sweating. I went out. I was like, I went out in the yard, pulled the weeds out of our flower bed, and it was a whole thing. I was like, you know what? Let's get some sweat on. And if I'm sitting in the house, I'm doing it anyway, Just got off an LDS panel, denied church's affirmation of circumstantial abortion. See, that's weird. I mean, if Warrior, have you looked at, I'm sure you've seen the church's, newsroom article on that. Also denied Joseph married underage women. That's kind of the thing now, dude. That's a thing. Deny. But also, I'm not. I actually just watched it's a couple years old now, but the Mormonish podcast, they did an expose on the Calvary or cavalry, not Calvary, cavalry. It's like Travis Anderson, all those guys' Facebook page. Got like 14,000 members that are a bunch of missionaries and stuff. And they went through a bunch of stuff in there. And it's basically like before it was exposed a couple years ago, they were very, they were kind of teaching the missionaries to kind of do stuff behind the mission president's back. Is pretty bad. But basically every bishop says keep the baby. But Saint, I think the problem is that the newsroom article, even if the bishop says that, if the woman gets some kind of subjective experience from God or what she perceives as a confirmation, she can go ahead and get the abortion if she falls under those circumstances. So that's kind of the problem, right? It's on the official church page. It is. It's a problem. That's why I say it. And this is why, this might sound, I don't know, bad, which, I mean, it is bad, but at the same time, it's, I think it smears the character of God to say that, I don't know, like it would tell some random woman, right? And people tend to bring up like, well, why did God, allow, them to go into Canaan and do all that stuff. So there's a massive difference between God using a judicial, like a what's it called? My brain's fried because it was so hot in this house. Brother, holy crudberries, dude. Anyway, an army. Oh my gosh, dude. Golly, the heat is getting to me. Anyway, using an army to pour out his wrath on another nation, and subsequently, oh, I thought my phone was ringing, and and obviously children are taken out in that. It's another thing to pick random women to tell random women that they can take the lives of children that God says in His own Word should be protected. Like specifically, I like to go to the rape one, right? So when the LDS Church allows for the rape exception, if you receive a confirmation through prayer, it's saying that the child, the woman who has been victimized, horrendously victimized, can victimize the child. The whole, what makes rape awful is that you're overthrowing, you're forcing somebody into this awful situation where obviously their agency is being overthrown. They're, they're it's against their will, right? So you take the mother who's had this done against her will, and then you're saying you can now impose your will upon somebody else. And we are to believe that the LDS, that God, according to the LDS Church, would allow you to overthrow the agency of this random child. Again, like it's a polar opposite, like wartime versus random woman living in suburbia. You know what I mean? And it's a massive category error. So anyway, tangent, but go look at what the church says about it. I've read the document many times, on stream, off stream. We've read it multiple times. Can I join? Oh, sure. Oh, I have two people. Sorry. If you're both Latter-day Saints, we'll just bring you both up. Atheist AF, well, you're not a Latter-day Saint, so we're talking to believing Latter-day Saints, atheists, so that is why you have been denied. I'm a Christian, not a Latter-day Saint. We're trying to talk to Latter-day Saints. If it'll accept his request, there we go.
How you doing, bro?
What's up, man?
Good to see you again.
You too.
Let's see here. Let me turn my camera on so it's more personal. So I was just going to chat through the abortion thing. I guess what's the stance of the sin of murder? Is that a forgivable sin?
Forgivable sin, unforgivable crime.
Forgivable sin, unforgivable crime, meaning someone could be put to death legally, and that's like legal and ethical and moral to do in God's eyes, but the sin itself, someone could receive forgiveness for that sin.
Total remission. Yeah.
Okay. So I agree with that. My thoughts are, okay, so yes, it's true that the church leadership, and in the handbook it says, and there's been like conference talks about how, obviously abortion is an awful sin. It's terrible. No one should do it for unjustified reasons, which then asks what could be a considerable justified scenario. And I actually think my personal beliefs are different from the official doctrine of, like, or not doctrine, but the official teaching of rape, incest, or threat to the life of the mother or the child. And the threat to the life of the mother of the child, that one I have the biggest problem with, because I think there's like a lot of times where like miracles happen, and like, I think someone, if they go and act on faith, like competent medical authorities can be wrong, and you can have the baby and it can be just fine,
100%.
Yeah. So in each of those cases, rape, incest, and threat of the life of the mother, they say consult with the bishop. And I think it's generally true. I can't speak for every case because I'm not behind closed doors in every case, but sure. I think it's generally true that the church advises the leadership and the bishops to be like, hey, when they come to you, like, you should advise them to keep the baby. Like, that should be your counsel. At the end of the day, we believe in moral agency. We believe that everyone can choose to sin, and we prefer that they don't. We advise them to keep the baby, but we're not in the business of taking people's agency away from them and saying, hey, if you go through with this, in the case of rape, incest, or threat to the life of the mother, you're going to be excommunicated, or you're going to be disfellowshipped, or whatever. Now, if someone comes to the bishop and they say, I want this abortion for convenience only, Like I have a corporate career and I just want to get rid of the child. I want to kill the child because of convenience. And the bishop says, absolutely do not do that. That's not a justifiable reason. And they go through with it. I would see no issue with excommunicating that member because they willfully ended the life with no justifiable reason. So I would say it's not a justification in the sense that it's no longer a sin if they do it. And even if it is a sin, they can still be forgiven of it. But the church advises against it. And even in those extra cases, we're not going to excommunicate them for making the decision, even if we disagree with the decision. So that's kind of like my thoughts. And also to add the cherry on top, you're familiar with the LDS doctrine of children who die under the age of 8 years old.
Yeah.
Yep. So they're automatically saved to the celestial kingdom. And so that doesn't make it right. I'm not saying, okay, go ahead and murder your baby because,
Right.
yeah, just kill your children. They're going to go, like, I'm sure there's crazy people in the church in the past who have murdered their children and been like, oh, I did it because I wanted them to be in the celestial kingdom. Like,
Mhm.
that's an insane person thing to
Yeah,
do.
it's
And that
crazy.
person
Sure.
needs serious mental help. But that would be, I believe in an all loving, all merciful God who wants us to retain our moral agency. And so that's where I think the thought process is. I'm obviously not the leadership of
Mhm.
the church, but that's how I could rationally justify it and stay a believing member and still hold my
Mhm.
position that I think that, I don't find them justifiable in the terms that I think we're thinking about it right now. But I also don't see it as something as like what do we do if they have the abortion?
Mhm.
What is the crime that we should inflict on the mother who was raped, who did have the abortion?
Mhm. So, I guess a few things. So I'll start. I'll start with the church's position part that you mentioned. So I think the problem, even even though the LDS Church says that they are opposed to like 97 or 98% of abortions or whatever, which praise God, I wish it was 100%. I'll be totally honest. And the reason I say that is because if you're telling a mother that if she goes to the Lord and she receives a confirmation uh, within these certain circumstances, right? Then that is inadvertently telling her that she's not sinning if she kills that kid. If the Lord, again, right? Because if the Lord gives you a confirmation that you can, if your
Mm-hmm.
life is at risk, if your child is conceived in rape or incest, or obviously the fallible physician or doctor or whatever says that the baby's going to die anyway, which he doesn't actually know, just like you said, like miracles can occur. And I actually have a uh, anecdote about that here in a second, but um, the problem with that is telling mothers that they're not sinning. It makes them. It's almost like it's very similar to like the casual pro life movement where they believe in like a second victim narrative, where you're telling the mother that she is a victim. Her and her child are both victims in abortion. Right. So they think the mothers don't understand what they're doing. They think that the mother's also a victim of abortion when she gets one. It's a problem because it's telling
Mm-hmm.
mothers that they're not sinning when they do this thing. So the problem is that the church is saying abortion is justified and not sinful in these positions. And therefore, that's a massive problem. And the reason I say that is because you're telling her that she can murder her child in these circumstances. When God says, like, again, rape exception is the one I tend to go to because it's obviously or rape or incest, because God says very clearly in his word that he hates the hands that shed innocent blood,
Yeah.
right? So if you have a child, and obviously you see, I think it's in James where he tells us to, um, it true religion is to take care of the orphans, the widows, all this stuff. That is pure and true religion, right? But
Yeah.
the the LDS Church is saying that you can, instead of take care of these kids, like rape conceived children that
Yeah.
are supposed to be taken care of, that they can be killed, and that's a problem.
So
Yeah,
I need to brush up on this right now. I am just making assumptions here, but so just being fully transparent. I'm not trying to claim that
that's
this is
fine.
what the church was saying, but um is it clear though in the handbook that the church says like, oh, if the mother receives confirmation from the Lord that it's okay to murder her child, she can go through with it and it's not a sin. Like I think
It doesn't
you're
say
reading,
murder, but
yeah, yeah,
no,
sure, or terminate the pregnancy or whatever. But are you are you reading into it more than what it's actually saying? Because if the bishop is
I
counseling with
wouldn't
the
say so. No.
But if the bishop is counseling with the woman who was raped or had or incest or whatever, and the
Mm-hmm.
bishop is saying, "Hey, you should keep the child. You should keep
Mm-hmm.
the child." And the bishop has priesthood authority and keys and is like supposed to be a counselor who is a judge in a position for the Lord, then would that not be the Lord saying to the woman, "You should keep the child"? And if the woman goes against that, even if she says that she had some sort of revelation, we obviously believe that priesthood revelation cannot, or sorry, individual personal revelation cannot trump priesthood. So, like, I can't go and receive a revelation saying that I don't need to get sealed in the temple because the prophets and apostles have already taught that I need to be sealed in the temple. So I can't go to my bishop and say, "Hey, by the way, I prayed to God and God told me that I don't need to be sealed in order to be with my wife for eternity." And so my thought process is they're going to their priesthood leader who has priesthood authority, or sorry, stewardship, I should say. I shouldn't use the word authority. I'd say has stewardship over their congregation. And the counsel that the bishop gives the member is, "Hey, under my stewardship and the keys that I hold, I think you should keep the baby." And then the woman goes and says, "Well, I received personal revelation that I'm going to kill the child." The bishop, at that point, all they can do is just say, "Okay, well, I think you should keep it." Um, and I think, I guess where it comes down to is it still considered a sin after that decision is made? Um,
Sure.
I don't know anywhere in the handbook or in the scripture where it says it's now no longer considered a sin.
I I think that's the obvious implication. So like, for example, all of my information for this is coming from this Church Newsroom article about abortion. I'm not sure if you've read it recently,
I have
but
not.
it
When
lays
did it
out
come out? Was
obviously.
it recent?
This was came out in. It doesn't have a.
Oh, it did.
I think
Okay.
it's
All right. Well,
I think it's fairly recent. Because I watched the conference talk where one of the 12 gave the talk, and then they made this article afterwards. I don't
yeah,
know. It was pretty recent. It's probably within the last couple of years, few years.
yeah.
But so here's my point. So it says, it lays out the exceptions. It's like pregnancy results from rape or incest, competent physician, mother's life's in danger, or if the baby has severe defects that will not allow it to survive beyond birth. So those are
Hmm.
the exceptions. It says that these exceptions do not automatically justify abortion. Abortion is a serious matter. It should be considered only after the persons responsible have received confirmation through prayer. And then it says members may counsel with their bishops as part of this process. So the ultimate thing is that you receive a confirmation and you may.
Hmm.
It's almost like it's not required that you
Sure.
bring your bishop into the process.
You can't force a member to meet with their bishop. Like the church isn't going to
Right.
say, "Hey, we
Sure.
understand you're pregnant. If you don't meet with your bishop, we're going to excommunicate you." Like, what I'm saying is this is an extremely difficult thing to enforce, and we have to respect people's moral agency and also not be okay. Like, that doesn't, respecting someone's agency doesn't mean that we should celebrate or that we're okay with the decision they end up making. But I also think, like, I think, well, I'm not going to say that because I'm not confident in that answer, so I'm not going to say that.
You're
But
fine.
let's continue. Go ahead.
No, so I think my point is that it's ultimately saying that it's not sinful for her to have an abortion within these circumstances if she receives a confirmation through prayer. And I think that's kind of the trump card here. It's like if you receive the confirmation, because obviously if you just if you dumb it down a little bit, the confirmation is God telling you that it's okay. So if God's telling you that if he's saying it's okay, then it's not sinful, right? You can't be held liable as far as like before God in judgment for this sin
Hmm.
if God's telling you that it's okay, right? Like
Yeah.
specifically. So I think that's the point. So, and again, that's why when I look at these exceptions, like again rape, and there's actually a really good case to be made that the life of the mother one is also is just horrendous, and there's some ways to go about that, but I won't go there right now. But the rape one specifically, these kids are conceived in such a way that nobody wants them, right? Nobody, like,
Hmm.
these are literally the orphans that God tells us to take care of and to love and to cherish, right?
Hmm.
And the church is saying that God could go from saying in his word, cherish the least of these, take care of the orphans and the widows, to kill the orphans. And that's where I have a massive problem, because these kids are not wanted. They should be loved, especially by the church. And yet they're saying that these kids who are the least of us in our midst should be killed. So that's what I'm saying. That's why I have such a hard time with this.
I do think it's a little strong to say we're saying they should be killed.
If they receive confirmation that, yeah, I should preface it like
but
that.
I think, yeah. So no, I see that point there. I want to dive into the specifics now of like what.
That's fine. Yeah, and if you just type in like LDS Church abortion, it'll bring it's on the newsroom.churchofjesuschrist.org / official statement / abortion. That's the webpage. And also somebody's putting the handbook thing in the, I don't know what that is.
That's the handbook section on abortion where it talks about like, it shows the same thing, like rape, incest, counsel with your bishop or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting. The other point I wanted to just go about is Joseph Smith being a pedophile.
I don't say that.
Okay. So someone in the comments had said I thought you were agreeing with them earlier. Okay.
So I haven't studied it enough to be confident in any of that. So I can't in good conscience say that, you know, because I'm actually going through. I started the book today. I'm like 5 or 6 or 7 chapters in. It's not a how would you put it? It's not a
scholarly.
Probably. Well, no, it's scholarly, but it's a biography of Joseph Smith's life, and it's by
Rough Stone Rolling.
No, it's
No Man Knows My History. Is it by
it's not by Richard Bushman. It's Joseph Smith, The Rise and Fall of an American Prophet.
Yes, okay. Yes, that one. Yeah. That one. Yeah, so that's a really scholarly review, and that's like a really objective look at Joseph Smith's life
by John G. Turner. It's really well written. I'm really enjoying it.
No, he's legit. He's legit. He doesn't tell it from the ones I haven't gotten to that one, but I've heard great things about it. And then I'm like about 3/4 of the way through Rough Stone Rolling, which is really, that one's written by a Latter-day Saint, but he's like
Richard Bushman, right?
Yeah, I don't think he pulls many punches in the book. Like he's pretty like, Joseph was a flawed guy, but and then there's, what's her name? Oh gosh, she's like the real famous Fawn Brody. Fawn Brody did No Man Knows My History.
That's next on my list.
But one thing one of the books that I finished recently is called Joseph Smith's Polygamy Toward a Better Understanding. There's the 3-volume super scholarly one, like that's like just riddled with footnotes and it's just like a slog. But then there's there's a more condensed, like easily digestible one for just like the common person, like the average member. It's written by Brian C. Hales, but most of the research was done by someone named Don Bradley. And Don Bradley, if you haven't heard his story, he was baptized, I think, at like 14, and then left the church around like 18 or 19 and was like studying history. Like he lost his testimony studying history. And then Brian C. Hales like recruited him to help him write this book on polygamy. And Don Bradley is like, yeah, I'll totally help you, but just so you know, like I'm not an active member. Like I'll help you find the sources and gather them. But he kind of went into it being like, I'm going to prove that Joseph Smith was like a predator or was in it for sex, money, power, all that stuff. And he ended up like coming to the opposite conclusion, came back into the church, and he's like he shares a story on YouTube and all this stuff, but he did most of the research for this book. And so it's a good read. It is told from a believing Latter-day Saint perspective, so I'm just being fully transparent there. But the conclusions are, he was sealed to Helen Mar Kimball, who was 14, Lucy Partridge, who was 16, and then Eliza R. Snow, who I think was also below the age of 18. But in each of those cases, Helen Mar Kimball was a marriage what they would describe as an eternity-only sealing, so would not have involved sexual activity. And so any case of Joseph Smith sexual activity there's no evidence. None of the historians can definitively say no, but there's also no evidence, strong evidence pointing towards him having sex with any of the teenage brides, so to
Other
speak.
ones,
So
yeah.
so again, that's all just from the book I read, and it's really well researched, even though it is told from a faithful perspective. And even like
Hmm.
like the most critical of anti sources, they can't definitively prove that he was having
Sleeping
sex
with
with
all of them.
anyone. Yeah, so
Yeah.
I can understand people being like having a difficult time just with the idea of a ceiling in general, but um, I think there's a line there.
Yeah.
But anyway, I appreciate you just saying like you didn't know enough about it to so that was cool.
Yeah, well, I mean, it just comes down to the thing like where I'm just not well equipped enough to talk about any of the, like, obviously his polygamy, whatever that, like, just in general, I obviously have an issue with, but I don't have enough knowledge to be like, yes, he's a vicious predator pedophile. Like, no,
Sure.
and again, personally, I don't tend to use arguments like that anyway because that's
Yeah.
not really what I mean, yes, I'm worried about it. It's horrible, but I'm not, like, that's not the point of my apologetic endeavors. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
it's just I like to stick to like the theological backing of like what he said, like what happened, what
Sure.
did he do, what did Brigham do, all this stuff.
The
So
prophetic aspects rather like the prophetic claims rather than like the
rather than
personal
him being a
behaviors.
sinner,
Yeah,
yeah,
that makes
yeah.
sense. I like that. I think that's a
So
solid approach. I did you is it you're a Calvinist, is that correct? Or is that
correct, yeah.
okay? And so um is that monarchical Trinitarianism?
I mean, again, this is another play. I don't know, and that's just a spot where like I've heard those terms thrown around, but
Mhm.
I haven't
Okay.
like dived into them enough. Yeah,
No worries. I'm still trying to I'm still trying to figure it all out too. So my recent goal has been I went on a live with a bunch of Unitarians recently because I to be honest did not know that there were other groups of Christians that didn't believe in the Trinity.
the
Like
Trinity. Yeah,
they like but their idea is completely they don't even believe Jesus is God, which was
yeah,
very
yeah.
interesting. I was like I'm curious how you're going to justify that. But so
Hmm.
anyway,
Yeah, it's a
cool.
problem, and like for them, I mean, they're just yeah, it's a problem for Unitarians. That's a big that's a big hill to climb, trying to prove Jesus,
Yeah.
at least Jesus isn't God. That's kind of a hard thing to deal with,
Yeah.
but they do. But anyway, yeah, that's so that's kind of where I'm coming from. And again, we talked about all this stuff with abortion. I think I think it's a big problem. But at the same time, I would say that I think this stuff needs to be talked about more because
Mhm.
in my opinion, I think it does smear the character of God. Like when he's not going around, even in the biblical
Yeah.
witness, like you can bring up Abraham and say, well, God told him to sacrifice Isaac. Okay, well, he didn't even go through with it. He was just testing Abraham's faith.
Sure.
Um, but at the same time, he's not going around telling random people to murder their children or just to
So
kill their children for the sake of killing them. You know,
I've had this argument brought up to me from an atheist. An atheist was talking to me the other day, and they were saying, "How can you believe in a God that commanded Elijah to command bears to come out of the wilderness and kill like 30 something children in First Kings or whatever Second Kings?
yeah.
Like what's your?" My response was, uh, I mean, as a Mormon, I could just say I don't believe the Bible's infallible, so I can kind of just reject that was the full story of what happened. Like I don't think
Hmm.
a prophet just gets made fun of and it has the justification to murder children, right? But that's like coming from me. So with your background, like with sola scriptura, how and it being infallible, like what would your response to that atheist have been?
That God's pouring out his judgment. I mean,
Okay.
ultimately, at the end of the day, God saw it as, like E- Elisha had the ability to obviously seek God for this judgment to be poured out, and it happened. It's the
Okay.
same thing, like, if they want to argue, like, why did God flood the earth and kill all the men, women, children, pregnant women, like whatever. It's because God
Mhm.
is just and pouring out his wrath on whom he pleases.
Gotcha.
And again, from the biblical perspective, everybody, like in Ephesians 2, everybody's a child of wrath, worthy of judgment.
Yeah.
So God can take life and give as he pleases. And that's why just same thing Jesus said in like, I think Matthew 6 or 7, when he said, not a bird falls from the sky without God's consent. So if God deems it right to take your life at that time, then that's the
Yeah.
appropriate way. And again, ultimately by, especially under the new covenant where we don't live uh, under a theocracy,
Mm-hmm.
right? We have to, like God specifically gave the sword to the government. There are, and this is kind of my other problem with this is that God has given, specifically in Romans 13, God has laid out that the government is his deacon to deal out justice, and that they do not bear the sword in vain. So they're the ones that are allowed to deal out the death penalty. With obviously exceptions are, self-defense, things like that.
Yeah.
But ultimately, there is no self-defense when you have a child conceived in rape or incest or anything like that. I
Yeah.
think that's that's just another part of the problem. But I mean,
No, I
yeah,
I definitely would appreciate more clarity from the church on like, are we saying that women who pray about that specific thing that it's not a sin anymore? I would like more clarity, and I'm going to look into that specific
okay,
topic more because I generally actually agree with your stance that I don't know why God would like tell one woman that it is okay in a circumstance to have an abortion, but not in another circumstance. So that's something I'm going to be studying the next couple of
agreed.
weeks. The other
Yeah,
thing I was going to say, as I agreed with your previous point on like God inflicting his judgment, or like, because I mean, literally the first 10 chapters of the Book of Mormon, like Nephi's commanded to kill Laban, so
sure.
like,
Yeah,
um,
right.
yeah. So I mean, we're totally in alignment with that part. But well, cool, man. I don't have anything else. Thanks for being
Okay.
like respectful and civil as always. So thank you.
This is what I want, dude. I'm tired. Like honestly, all of the polemics that go on a lot of the time, it's kind of annoying, and I'm tired of it. So
Yeah.
this is we're trying to build a spot where we can just have these conversations. Like, and again, if the normal apologists on TikTok, like LDS apologists, cool down a little bit, have no issue having the conversations, honestly.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
at the same time,
I will say I'm gonna, because obviously, I've been a member my whole life, and
yeah,
what I'll say is this is we are growing up. I remember in middle school, kids telling me that like I'm not a real Christian, and we are deeply ingrained growing up in the church that we are a religion that has survived a ton of persecution. It's like in our DNA. Like, and same with Christianity.
mm,
Christianity can claim the same thing, but it's a little,
sure,
the wounds are like a little fresher for the average LDS person. So like when they're going on online, and even if you're not coming at them in like a super like aggressive way, like I can understand why they're being a little bit more aggressive and defensive, because they're like, we're the victims here, we're the ones that are, and so I try and acknowledge that that's not really the case. Like most
mm,
apologists out there are genuinely concerned about our salvation. Like they want us to have, believe in the real Jesus, and so I can
sure, yeah,
understand where they're coming from. But also, just like it's helpful for Christian apologists to know, like that's a very like deep rooted thing in our church, is like persecution. So like we kind of come with our guard up in a lot of situations, and we come off
sure.
as way more aggressive than we really need to be. And so hopefully that kind of changes. But
Well, it's not necessarily like unprompted aggression that's the problem. It's becoming and I'm sure you've noticed this. It's specifically like I don't know what it is about LDS apology. I don't just want to say LDS apologetic, but like there's kind of a growing just movement around all kinds of online discussions where it goes more from just having charitable discussions, and like because you obviously know where I'm coming from. You kind of already said like Christians want you guys to be saved. That's what I want for you.
yes,
So
100%.
I can tell you that and not scream at you. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So
Uh-huh.
and we can be charitable, but I think there's a growing movement that has kind of enveloped a lot of people, even on LDS and my side, where it's just polemics 24/7.
Yeah,
Like I put a
it's
video up.
mudslinging,
It's all it is. Like I put a video up yesterday. I don't know if you saw it, but or 2 days ago, where like there were some apologists up on a panel calling evangelicals restarted, basically, like they're if you know what I mean by that.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
it's just like that kind of polemic, like specifically unprovoked. Like it's the main
Yes.
approach by a lot of people now, unfortunately. But I think it's just
Yeah.
because of the cancer of online polemics. I think that's kind of just
100%.
on all sides. So
Yeah. Yeah. I think I it's tough because I can't say that like there are some times where you can only be misrepresented so many times before you're like, you start going crazy. And I feel like
yeah,
that's where a lot of this is coming from. Is it's kind of like and I mean like when you see like Latter Day Logic and Jacob Hansen's more respectful, I think typically. Like he can
sure.
get a little fired up sometimes,
I
but
think Devin is too. I think he's
yeah.
generally respectful.
Yeah, and Hayden Carroll, do you listen to his stuff at all? Let's
Not
Talk.
very much,
Okay.
yeah, but
He
every
he
once in a
he
while.
stays he stays pretty darn respectful as well, but it's like the brother Millers and the like the more of like the clip farming ones that
Yeah, yeah,
it's yeah, they're kind of starting this movement of you know, well, we've been misrepresented, and so we're just going to match the energy now, and we're going to da 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 da. And I'm
yeah,
like, bro, like let's remember, we believe that we're representatives of Jesus Christ, and yes, he flipped tables, and yes, he did all that stuff, but we're not talking to Pharisees, we're talking
yeah.
to other people who believe in Jesus Christ. So like I don't know. That's so anyway. I
Hmm.
appreciate your kind of way of going about it. But anyway,
Yeah.
hey,
Well, yeah, of course, man. It was great talking to you. I appreciate you coming up and hanging out. I do have somebody else in the guest box, so
yeah, no problem. Yeah,
I
I'll
want to be
take
respectful of
care,
their
man.
time. So God bless you.
Yeah,
Bye.
yeah. God bless. Bye.
Awesome sauce. Love it, man. Love it. Love it. Let's have more of those conversations. That's what I like. Nerd, I see you in the request, brother. Gonna have to slide by you though this time. Okay, I'm gonna leave you in there just because it helps the algorithm. So if you want to hang out there, you can. But just trying to leave it open for Latter Day Saints right now. And our friend Kane is not loading in. Hey, Kane, you're not loading in for me. I'm gonna drop you down and request back up if you're still interested in the conversation. Also, guys, if you don't mind, please keep tapping the screen. I'll probably get off here around 11. So we got about another hour. So let's try to get another hour of good, good conversations in. God willing, that'll happen. But again, Kane, if you're still in here, Kane dog, whatever it said, feel free to request back. But again, we kind of went off a little bit there. That's fine. At the end of the day, we're just kind of hanging out, having conversations. But at the same time, the topic is Mormonism isn't true, and so I go about for this specific stream. We're going about it in 3 different ways. So I would say that the God taught by LDS prophets and apostles, and I would say even the church itself is a false God. Okay. And so if you want to talk about that, come on up. And, here's what I'll do. I'm going to just list them out. So different God. That's the first one. I would say Joseph Smith is a false prophet. He fails the test of a prophet, as do many of the LDS prophets, I would say. So talk about that again. So if Joseph Smith fails the test of a prophet, then the founding prophet of the LDS church, I would say, nullifies the truthfulness of the entire church. So that's kind of the claim there. And then the third one, I would say that there's an anachronism in the Book of Mormon that is so astonishing that it ends up undercutting the entire historicity claim of the Book of Mormon. And if you want to know what I mean by that, come up, we'll chat about it. My cat just opened my door. Hold on, let me get him out of here. 1 second. Goodness. Okay. Do tell what? If you want more, Daniel, it's not about the horses or tapers, depending on who you talk to. It's not about the wheat and the barley. I'm not interested in that. It's something I would say 1,000 times worse. Be totally honest. So, boat? No, it's a theological anachronism. It's not. It's not like something out of place like horses or whatever. No, it's not. It's again, it's a theological anachronism. It's not about what they said is there. It's about what they said. That's the problem, as far as like a teaching specifically in the Book of Mormon. Ignatius the Christian. Again, hey, if you, well, here, Ignatius, are you like questioning the LDS Church, as in like you're seeking to join it? We're just trying to bring up believing Latter-day Saints. So, yeah. Bro is dedicating his life to tearing down people with a belief in Christ. So again, Max, again, from where we're coming from as Bible believing Christians, we would say that you're not believing in the true Christ. So that's part of the problem. If you're not believing the true Christ, you don't have salvation, and you need to trust in the true Christ. So from our point of view, you can't tell by my username that I'm LDS. Right? You have an Orthodox cross in your name. So I'm assuming you're an ortho, bro. Give you the benefit of the doubt. Let's see what happens. Never seen a Mormon with the name Ignatius, so we'll see what happens. He's not loading in. He's not loading in. All right, I'm going to kick you, Ignatius, and then I'll just invite you back up. There you go.
Yo, can you hear me?
Ignatius. Yo, you a Mormon?
Yeah. You can't tell? I'm joking. I just wanted to ask, are you only taking up LDS
Believing
right now, or
Latter-day
could I ask a
Saints, yeah.
question?
If it's regarding
okay.
the LDS Church, you're more than welcome.
So when I tend to talk to LDS members, there's not really much that you can say to like get to them and like appeal to them. I'm wondering, has there been any times where you've like actually gotten LDS to like rethink their position? And if so, what did you specifically mention?
So yes, but again, so we're coming at it from totally like polar opposite paradigms here. I'm a Calvinist, so I believe what the Bible says about God having to change hearts. So there's nothing I can specifically say, or like any kind of formula to be used, as in like saying this thing to get them to think differently. I think God has to give them a new heart, like Jeremiah 31 says, in order for them to believe in general. So that's kind of the starting point for me. But have I seen them change their minds? Well, not firsthand. I actually heard from an LDS apologist, which used to live near me, but he moved to Utah afterwards. But I live in DFW, and I talk to missionaries all the time here when I get the chance. And apparently, I was listening to him on a live stream one day, and he was saying that because of my conversations with missionaries here, I've had, I guess, a few sent home. They left because they questioned their faith, which I never heard that. And this guy was ingrained in the church here before he moved. So I have no reason to doubt what he was saying. He was trying to warn another Latter-day Saint about me because of that. And so I have not seen it with my own eyes, but there has been fruit born. But I'm not sure what the catalyst was for that. So yeah.
All right. Well, I hope it's a fruitful night and that you change some hearts and bring them to the kingdom.
By the grace of God.
Amen, brother.
So
later.
All right. God bless you. Bye. All right, guys. Again, we're bringing up believing Latter-day Saints. If you're a believing Latter-day Saint and you disagree with the topic on screen, please feel free to request. I have like 3 subtopics. So the main one here on screen, Mormonism isn't true. Again, I would say the LDS Church teaches a different God. I would say that Joseph Smith is a false prophet. He fails both the test of a prophet in the book of Deuteronomy. And then I say that the Book of Mormon has a theological anachronism in it that undercuts the historicity claim, if that's the way to put the historical claim of the Book of Mormon. And again, I would say it's akin to finding It's like finding a letter from Abraham Lincoln where he's talking about his iPhone 10 that he takes selfies with. It's that kind of massive anachronism. And it's not, again, we're not talking about wheat, barley. It's a theological anachronism that has a line or a string rather running all the way throughout the Book of Mormon. And since it's there, it just undercuts the whole thing. It's a big problem. They don't come to my house anymore. I have also been blacklisted. Funny enough. But I actually caught some, I say caught like I'm hunting them or something, but there was some walking. I have a park like right next to my house, and they were like walking, and my buddy was coming from my hometown to come visit me, and he saw him walking like back behind my garage, like by the alley or whatever, and he like waved him down, and his wife came in. He's like, there are Mormon missionaries outside, and Sean's talking to them, and I was like, let's go. So that's the last time I got to talk to missionaries, I think. But yeah, so we other than that, I get blacklisted. They do not come to my house anymore. But you know, if you guys, I'll be honest, if you guys are super interested in seeking out and talking to LDS missionaries, you can actually request that they come to your home. And Mormons might be in here saying, wow, he's telling them to bring missionaries to your home. I'm telling you to do that if you feel as if you can actually have a good, not debatey conversation with them and preach the gospel to them. So that's kind of the whole point. So you can just get on their website and order them. I call it booking a Mormon. Get it like Book of Mormon. But after so many things, but again, be honest with them. Tell them that you're a Christian. Don't lie to them. Say, I'm a Christian. Like, I love having these conversations with Latter-day Saints. Like, I would love to talk with you about your beliefs. Be upfront with them. If you do that, don't lie to them and bring them in under false pretenses. That's awful. Please don't do that. Yeah, and also just like Daniel DLS LDS, that throws me off, says, always like love on them. Like don't bring them in to yell at them and hit them with your Bible, and like just bring them in, love on them, feed them. If you can order some Domino's, bring them over and have a conversation and let them stay for a little while, because sometimes you can develop fantastic relationships with missionaries and you actually become friends with them. Like I had a guy, he's off his mission now, but he came to my house almost every Friday for almost a year. And he knew where I was coming from. I'm sharing the gospel with him. We have these deep, honest conversations. And he's gone home off of his mission, and he still calls me and we talk on the phone. I think we have an actual friendship, and he knows where I'm coming from. He knows where I'm at. He's not trying to hide that, but he's a fantastic dude. And you can develop like real relationships with these people. And it just, you get to have these conversations, and by God's grace, you might get to see fruit. But you don't want to, again, obviously I'm not going to show I don't want false unity. So you can have these friendships. So just like I had a conversation with Saint just a minute ago, you can bring them in and love them and not compromise your beliefs, but be bold in what you believe and show them that truth, and don't compromise that for the sake of a false unity, but love on them, show them the truth of the gospel, and show them Christ-like love, and pray for them. That's all you can do. You can't just like, the Orthodox guy that came up here a minute ago. Again, from the biblical paradigm, you can't change anybody's heart, right? It's about sharing the gospel and God doing that work in them inadvertently through prayer and through the planted seeds of the gospel. So, we can't force them to believe anything. And if you can, I'm not saying like a good argument sometimes can't change somebody's mind by the grace of God, but arguing typically is not the way to go about it. Like God says, like be ready. I think it's in 1st or 2nd Peter, like be ready to give a defense for the faith that is within you. 1 Peter, 2 Peter, one of those. And do that with gentleness and respect. We are all, and like all of us included, can fall into the category of not doing that with gentleness and respect. So we should seek to do that. And sometimes it devolves into horrible, like lashing out and stuff, but that's not how it's supposed to be. So anyway, diatribe over. Okay. Latter-day Saints, Daniel DLS LDS. You see this guy NA right here in my comments, or any other Latter-day Saint in here. So this guy comments on every one of my videos. You don't know LDS doctrine. Fine, whatever. He has come into my life. This guy right here. He at least acts like it could be like a atheist troll that's pretending to be Mormon. If you guys know who's actually running this account, like who it's like an anon account, like an anonymous account. If you guys know who's doing that, tell them to stop giving death threats on my stream. So he's threatened to kill me. He's threatened, like, and it started off so like juvenile, right? Like, it was, you don't know LDS doctrine on every single post on my thing. Like, every time I posted something, you don't know LDS doctrine. I actually thought it was kind of funny. And I would miss him if he didn't post it anymore. But then he came into my stream one day and said he was going to kill me and send me to my God. And now he's in here telling Heaven's Best to just die already. There's another guy in here. So you know what I mean? So if you are a Latter-day Saint and you know who's running this anonymous account, please tell them to stop. Just like meet them, call them on the phone or on Discord in your, apologetics chats and say, hey, stop telling Christians or, Protestants, whatever, that you're going to kill them. I feel like that's fair. Stop lying about the LDS Church. Yeah, and again, he could just not be a Mormon. He could just be a really committed atheist that like LARPs as a Mormon behind a anonymous account, or he's a Mormon, or he's one of these apologists that has to get their, has to hide behind a screen and pretend that that's not who they are, and then say awful things because they secretly actually just want to fulfill the Danites, fulfill the law of the Danites. I'm not going to say that. I'm not sure who it is. I'm LDS, but that's crossing the line. No idea who that is, but not cool. That's what I'm saying. So again, it's probably somebody who gets their rocks off doing stuff like that. More than likely, it's either an atheist that's taking it just way too far and he's just LARPing, or it's a Latter-day Saint, somebody who just has a fake account and likes to say heinous things behind a screen. People do that. And it happens. It's actually funny. Well, it's not funny. This guy, I think, so I work for a company, obviously, but I travel to like job sites. And at one of these job sites, I feel like it was on a Monday or something. Anyway, it was like right after this guy gave me a death threat for the first time, the only time. I go to this job site and I park my, I'm trying not to give away too much information of where I work, but I park my truck, my work truck at this location, and one of my coworkers is screwing with me. He has a 22 bullet. He puts it on my door handle. Like, it was right after this dude, if my memory serves me correctly, it's right after this dude gave me the death threat, like the first and only time. And so I go to my car. I'm walking to my van to get something out, and I open my door, and this 22 round falls on the ground underneath my like just right underneath my door. I'm sitting there looking at it. I'm like, that's a bullet, bro. And I was like, it was on my door anyway, and I'm freaking out. I'm calling my wife. I was like, hey, maybe you shouldn't go anywhere today. Like, just stay at home, just make sure the door's locked and the gun's, loaded, whatever. And come to find out, it's one of the guys I work with that was screwing with me. He put it on my door. He came to me later. He was like, I actually thought it was somebody else's van. He doesn't know what I do. Right. So he thought it was somebody else's van and he put it on there trying to screw with them, but it was me. So I was like, praise the Lord, this wacko didn't find out where I work and where I live, and is leaving little threats via 22 rounds on my doors. So I say it's funny. It's funny now because I knew that it was the guy I worked with, but yeah. So anyway, this guy is like actually threatening people. So it's kind of weird. Probably just report him. He's gonna make a new account, whatever. They could do like an IP ban, like just ban his IP address, but is what it is. Group chat is blowing up. But anyway, off topic. We got all the way there. Mormonism is not true. If you're a Latter-day Saint, you deny or you're against the topic here, please feel free to request up. We're having good, honest Latter-day Saints. So, unlike down there. Just get a life. Don't lie about the LDS Church. Hold on. Hold on. Show your face. You know, I'm wondering. Let me just take a picture of that real quick. I'm wondering if it's the guy that does Andrew Apologetics. I wonder if it's that guy, because the Andrew Apologetics account, because his name. So you have like the name NA, but underneath it says Drew by XR9RU. So Drew, somebody named Drew, or some kind of account named Drew. So makes me think it might be the guy that does Andrew Apologetics. I don't know. Who knows? But anyway, he's a troll. We'll just mute him. So anyway, yo, Luke, what are y'all blowing up the group chat for, broski? Y'all are, my phone is rumbling, tumbling over here. Let me tell you. Faith and works. What about them? Faith without works is dead. Love that verse from James. Oh. A bunch of people requested it. What's up, Daniel?
Not much. How are you doing?
I'm gonna bring, hold on. Sorry. I'm just gonna bring these guys up. We're just gonna have a one-on-one conversation, Daniel, but they requested up, so I'm just gonna let them up here.
All of a sudden got busy.
Got busy, man. So what's up, Daniel?
Oh, I'm not really interested in a long conversation. I'm sorry that
Okay.
that guy gets on there and says that kind of stuff. You know,
Yeah, it's crazy.
You've ran into us and you've talked to a lot of us, and I mean, you know what Latter-day Saints are like, and
sure, majority of them, yeah,
absolutely. And so, you know, someone that's going around making those kind of threats and being rude, that doesn't quite represent
of course.
And so
100%, yeah.
And so I appreciate the grace that you extend in that. I appreciated your post that you made about Chandler. I thought that was timely and appropriate, and I do appreciate that. I wish that you wouldn't have posted a couple after that. But you know, but I'll tell you this, that you know, both those individuals I actually spoke to and took aside because I believe that that's our job. You know, if we have an issue with a brother, to pull them to the side and really just check on them and say, hey, brother, how are you doing? What's going on?
What's going on? Yeah.
Because right now there's, you know, a lot of us
Tension.
that are in space. There's a lot of people that are hurt and sad over the death of somebody that we enjoyed and liked a lot. And so,
sure.
But I appreciate you. I wanted to say on I understand you feel like you got blacklisted and missionaries don't come over anymore, but definitely to your audience, please, by all means, you know, if you see the elders out, you know, stop, say hi, you know,
Love on them.
Water, love on them, absolutely. No good comes from screaming at each other, and no good comes from, you know, I kicked them off my porch and all that kind of stuff. No good comes from that. You know, I'm a convert to the church. At 18, I was going to a Baptist university, and I took a course on major sects and cults. And one of those that was discussed in the syllabus and in the class and in our reading list was Mormonism. And so I decided that I needed to find out what Mormons believed beyond what I'd read and watching the God Makers and stuff like that. And so that's actually how I entered into actually converting and becoming a Latter-day Saint. And so, you know, I always encourage people. I mean, come with honest questions.
Wait,
the elders will be happy to speak with you.
You converted scholastically?
I what?
You converted scholastically?
I did.
I've never heard of that before.
Yeah. So I appreciate you, uh, and the low volume approach you're taking, and the plant. Say that word for me, brother.
What word?
Pol. No,
Polemics.
whatever. There we
Polemics.
go. Yeah, polemics. Getting the volume down, the heat down. We don't always do that real well on some of our LDS apologetics
We
spaces.
don't either.
I'm on a lot of them. But we have people just coming in and screaming things,
Yeah,
like Joseph Smith was a PDF, and
sure.
he married a 14-year-old, or it's all fake, stuff like that. And it's not a good way to approach someone, to just say, yeah,
Sure.
but what you believe is bullcrap.
You're in a
So
cult and I hate you. Yeah,
yeah,
it's not the approach.
but I do
Yeah.
appreciate the the gentleness that you're speaking with tonight. And so I just wanted to acknowledge that. I don't believe for a second that that guy in the comments that is threatening you is LDS at
Mm-hmm.
all.
Probably not.
And
Yeah,
it could be somebody. My experience is that because we've had them, whenever we upset someone, a Trinitarian that comes in or whatever, and we upset them, a lot of times somebody makes a fake account and kind of stalks us because they feel
yeah,
burned or shamed. But I doubt
sure.
very seriously that he's an LDS. I do know that I've heard you say this several times, the spirit of the Danites and stuff like that. It's like, okay,
Yeah,
they were removed from the church long, long ago.
sure.
They're,
No. So all of that was coming from specifically after Shady said what he said in that video.
well, I didn't name names.
Um,
I don't think it's necessary.
oh, sorry, my bad. After that guy said that in the video, I guess cat's out of the bag now. But the point is that with that kind of just dark approach like that just felt necessary to me, and felt like it was, because again, with something as egregious as that, I think it was I think stuff like that needs to be called out. Personally, I think that needs to be policed, so that's why it comes out, because again, if it goes unchecked, it will just continue to fester, and if it's not caught early, then it's not going to it's just going to devolve into something worse. So that's why I do that. And you could argue that what I said was very polemical, and that was kind of the point get get to a point where it's actually policed, to make a point of all that. So again, it was a jab, obviously, but at the same time, I think it was sometimes jabs are necessary to get a point across, and that's kind of what it was. Um, so yeah, that was kind of the purpose behind that, and I think it did get policed. I've talked to one of the people. That's why I took that person out, removed their comment, and then repost the video with the original. Um, but anyway, that's kind of
Well, it wouldn't. It
what it was.
wouldn't. It would be a good faith thing to delete those two videos. Honestly and truthfully, it serves no purpose except to stoke fires of division. And I think that we can disagree on theology, um, and and the Book of Mormon, and that sort of stuff. But I don't know that keeping fires burning is necessary. These are real people who have real lives, just as you do. I wish nothing but good for you, and
Likewise.
I really do appreciate the gentle spirit that you're bringing, at least tonight, to
Sure.
this. All right, you have a
Right.
blessed
And
day.
if I could just push back just a little bit, and then I'll let you go for sure. I think the reason I will not take it down, just to be clear, is because I don't think um, consequences are a bad thing. The same way, if like Jordan, I think he's in here, go with the gospel. We tend to very openly police our own side when they cut. Like, I'm sure you probably saw the video a while back with that charismatic Calvinist dude where he's posting stuff on his story, right? Where he's talking about he wishes he could burn Mormons or whatever. Um, we made a video calling him to repent. He's since blocked at least me. I don't know if he blocked Jordan on Instagram, but he's blocked us. He doesn't care about that. But he needs to repent. It's a disgusting thing he's doing. And I think that's a necessary consequence to the actions that somebody produces. The same way if I did something like that, if I was calling for the violent hurting of somebody or anything like that, I think it should be called out. And
I
again,
think the statement was
yeah.
unnecessary. I would
Which
push
statement?
back
I'm sorry.
on, the
Danites one.
quote. No, the quote that said, if XYZ person does such and such, I will track them down and end them. That was a
Sure.
brief summary of the quote.
Sure.
I and the phrase was in them, which I don't particularly believe is a call to violence at all, but I do believe it was completely unnecessary and something that was said out of grief and anger. And you mentioned that there's, I believe you said that there's a LDS apologetics Discord. Not sure.
I was just
where
saying that
you-
to be funny. Yeah.
Okay. So, but if there is such a thing, you know, I would assume that it was mentioned there, and that various individuals reached out to check on a brother to make sure that he's doing all right in a time of hurt and pain. And I do appreciate what you said. I appreciate you saying, hey, at this time you don't feel like it's appropriate to take down, but I would like for you to prayerfully consider that. So that's that.
Okay.
For instance, I got on the live the other night, and a lady was there that has been very hostile and difficult to deal with.
Sure.
You were on the screen in that live. You jumped off right as I came on, and I actually said, "Hey, I'm not speaking with that account. I'll talk to anybody else, but not that account."
Mhm.
But as time progressed, she was really nice that night, and I ended up speaking with her because I recognize that people do change, and I want that for people. So anyway,
Same.
I appreciate it, and thank you for being honest. And we'll see where all this goes from here.
Cool.
I'm going to hang out in the bottom space because I am super curious about your third thing that you mentioned.
Oh yeah.
I'm not gonna. You don't want to let it out of the bag without a little bit of a debate or pushback, and I'm just.
Well, no. It's not that I don't want to like let it out of the bag. I've talked about it 1,000 times up here. It's just a mouthful, and I don't want to repeat it the paragraph a trillion times as I try to lay it out. So that's why if someone's really interested, then come up and talk about it, and I'll explain it later or thoroughly. I have no issue with that. It's just I don't want to keep like quoting a Harry Potter novel, just over and over again. So that's kind of the point behind it. But yeah. Anyway, I don't want to keep you up anymore.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate you.
Have a blessed day.
God bless you. Bye. All right. Who else is in the guest request? Oh, I know. I think I know who that is. So what happened? Logan, are you still in here? Logan and Bible Nerd? Sorry. We just got into a good conversation. And y'all were just like, never mind. Dipping. It's fine. That's fine. See, Blue Thunder, if I can be real with you, that I don't think that would do anything. I don't think it would do anything. And again, I would say if you're going to do something, what that does is it inadvertently kind of stokes a fire. No, I guess no pun intended, kind of, sort of, to your comment. So like for people to seek that out, because when you start like trying to hide stuff, when you start trying to do that, it makes people like go believe it because they think you're hiding something. So I think there should be a freedom to read those things. I don't think we should burn the what's the book? Bhagavad Gita. What is that? What's the one for the Hindus? It's just stuff like that. Like there's no point to that. I think what it does is it just kills ideas. Yeah, I don't know, but it's my 2.5 cents. Bro, what? I'm trying to learn karate because kids in skeleton suits are bullying me at school dances. Sounds like you need to have like one of those like footloose dance competitions. You just need to go to like, you need to go into like an abandoned factory and just dance it out, dude. Exactly, Jordan. 100%, dude. 100%. Can I join up? I guess. If you're a friendly, you know, let's just open the floodgates. Anybody that wants to request, just request, dude. It's already 10:30. We'll end it on a free for all, whatever. Let's do it. All right. What's
How
up?
you doing? I see you have an apologetics channel here.
Yeah.
Yes, why are you trying to apologize? What are you apologizing for?
I'm telling people that I'm sorry that they're in false religions. That's what I'm apologizing for.
Are you apologizing for all the murders that your church has committed over the centuries?
My church?
Yeah,
What's my church?
the Christian church over the centuries.
Aren't you a
Isn't that your
Unitarian?
church? Yes, I am a Unitarian.
Are you a Christian Unitarian? Which is kind of an oxymoron, but more on that later.
I'm not like you at all.
Oh, okay.
So are you apologizing
so
for?
Jesus isn't. So hold on. So Jesus isn't God.
No, Jesus was a regular person.
Okay. Well, here. Do you claim to be a Christian Unitarian, or are you like a Muslim?
I'm an Ebionite. You can look it up.
I don't know what that is. You're gonna have to explain that to me. I'm sorry.
You defending your religion? You don't know what the original church of Jesus was?
Never claimed to be omniscient, so please go
You
ahead and
you never heard
enlighten
"Blessed
me.
are you the poor"? Blessed are ye the poor. You never heard that?
Go ahead and answer, please.
Okay, so blessed are you the poor. That's Ebionite in Aramaic or Hebrew. Abanim, Ebionim.
Okay.
That's the original community of Jesus and his brother
Okay.
James that existed before your pagan demonic Roman church. Okay, so I represent the
I'm not a
real.
Catholic.
It doesn't matter. You all originate from Rome. The Protestants, Catholics, Orthodox, they're the same devils. Okay, it's the same. It's the branches of the same demonic Roman church.
Wait, I'm sorry. Just real quick. What did you say that Ebionite is? Like it means what in English?
It means the poor.
The poor. Okay. What are the other like things that Jesus said in the Sermon on the Mount?
Listen, I'm not here to answer questions. I'm here to rebuke you, pagan.
No, you are. You are. And if you don't, you can just get off. It's fine.
I'm not here to answer your
Just kick
questions,
him.
demon.
He just this
Alright.
dude crazy.
Later,
I don't even
Gator.
entertain people like
yeah,
that.
you can just talk in the comments. You can just help the algorithm. Appreciate you.
Yeah, just he sounded like he was like a confused Muslim or something. I don't know what was up with that
Something,
dude.
dude.
That was some Muslim arguments there, but like he wasn't a Muslim, so I don't know what was going on.
I don't know. Bunch of craziness, dude.
Yeah, that's like the Muslim argument is anyone who isn't Muslim is a pagan. Like if they're calling people pagans, I found out they're also just calling Christians pagans, and he made that statement there too. So
I mean, I'll be
You know-
honest, I call people pagans too sometimes.
I mean, that's crazy, man, because I'm pretty sure their prophet married like a 9-year-old or something, but who am I to talk
Married
about
at
this
6,
stuff?
consummated at 9.
Yeah, it was only
be
consummated at 9. He was not gracious, but like merciful. Yeah, he was merciful. That's why he waited until she was 9. Kind of like Joseph Smith marrying that woman at 14. My stepdad
Yeah, it's
was
kind
like,
of what I was telling the guy
FLDS.
earlier. I haven't studied that stuff enough, so I can't
Yeah.
make comments on
well,
that.
I mean, I knew a girl who was 14 who had to marry her 40-year-old uncle. And that's when my mom crashed out, got a divorce with this guy because it was his niece having to marry like his half brother or something. And
Wow.
we weren't okay with any of that. We're like, dude, like he was mainstream LDS, like he had gotten kicked out of the FLDS, but still like we wanted nothing to do with that at that point. Like get out of here. Like we ain't playing.
Wow. That's
Um
insane.
Yeah. And that's kind of like where the thing goes with like Muslims and Mormons, because there's such a huge
Mhm.
comparison there. And I think that's kind of what freed me from like the LDS church and like their kind of mind games was actually studying Islam. And like when you see all the clear comparisons between Islam and Mormonism, like it's fake because I don't have to worry about with Joseph Smith, he married a 14-year-old. Muhammad married a 9-year-old. I'm pretty sure there's none of those questions with Jesus, so I'm good with him. I like Jesus.
There's definitely no questions of pedophilia with the Lord of Glory for sure. So the LDS sect that you grew up in, it was FLDS, or was it like mainstream?
No,
Then you
it
had
was
someone in your
LDS.
family that was
Mainstream
okay.
LDS. So we grew up kind of like in a smaller town, like a rural town, and adjacent to this rural town, there was like a smaller kind of. It was technically a
Community.
township, but it was more of just like some people living up in the mountains, and they were like the FLDS Mormons, and yeah, they had their own
Like
little
in Utah?
their own little township up there. No, Montana. Pines. You can look it up. Pinesdale,
Wow.
Montana. That's a Mormon and a fundamentalist Mormon cult out there, and they were
Wow.
still practicing child marriage at the time. I don't think it's going on anymore. I think there was a lot of crackdowns on that in the early 2000s, 2010s. I think I've seen a lot of the FLDS people be put behind bars, and to give them credit, some of the LDS people were behind that, and they helped work to kind of clean out their own house, so to speak. So I got to give them some credit where that's concerned.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they're obviously, trying to fight that and bite it and nip it in the bud some. So that's that's good at least. But yeah, it's crazy how that stuff still goes on, because I think in Utah there are still FLDS sects, but
Oh yeah.
I think they're still polygamous too. I could be wrong, but I would
there's still
imagine.
polygamy. There's still plenty of polygamy. I don't have any problem with polygamy. I have issues with child marriage. I think there's bigger issues that stem from polygamy, and we enter this sort of like hypergamy. Like our country's so messed up right now. Like we have this, like women are like dating specific guys, doing their thing, and then just like moving on, using people for money. And then like you have this whole thing with like the issue with the FLDS, and this is where I'm going to get to, is like, and the LDS, is they totally do this thing where they're like, the young men go out, they do their mission, they get to come back, and they get like this treatment, this special treatment if they're like born in the church. And there's like, this is the whole thing where like the conversion thing for them doesn't work, because you can't really convert people to LDS. Like you have to be born in it. And if you're considered a convert if you're not born in it, and you're
Sure.
not treated the same as everybody else, like you're just not. And it's like these they do this whole flirt to convert thing right now, which is really sickening. And they even like lower the age of like the girls that can go out and do missionary work. And it's just really disingenuous when they have like these girls going out doing this flirt to convert thing with guys that they would never have anything to do with, because they are told to only marry returned missionaries.
Sure. I will say I have seen some like questionable ads pop up on like my YouTube and stuff, like if you're on shorts or whatever, or even just like a normal like long form video, you get some
Sectels,
really,
you know what they're doing.
It's very weird, like women, like it's obviously two female sister missionaries doing that, and I'm like, this is not in good taste at all. So yeah, it's pretty weird. But I honestly, up here in DFW, I don't see very many sister missionaries. I've maybe seen a couple sets throughout. I've been here a few years, and it is not as often. But it's mainly males, obviously.
Yeah. And I've always had good conversations with like the male missionaries. They're usually pretty good young men, just in the spirit, trying to do the right thing. And, and I think there's like, I can go out and like say that's like, I feel there's a reason why they keep it to like the younger guys, because that's the same reason the military keeps, like, they want younger guys on the front lines. It's more susceptible people. They're easier to like have them be like perfectly formed. It's the same reason why you don't recruit like 30-year-old men into the military. And like, it's the same thing that was going on with Russia. It's like they're realizing these 30-year-old guys that they're putting on the battlefield just don't obey orders. They're doing their own thing. You send out these 18-year-old guys into the mission field, and, they're pretty much going to be cookie cutter. They're going to be, for the most part, what you need them to be. And
Sure.
I don't think that they're disingenuous people. And I think like they kind of keep them kind of naive to go out, and it's like, yeah, they're not lying because they believe it's true. They actually do.
Mm-hmm. Well, some of them lie, and I was talking with, I don't know who I was talking to earlier. I think it was another Latter-day Saint. It was my first guy, something Saint. I don't remember his name. But anyway, there's obviously these groups like the Cavalry on Facebook and stuff like that, where they're teaching these missionaries to, at least before they were, I'm sure they're still doing it, but a little more discreet now. But basically teaching these young boys to go against what their church mission presidents are telling them to do. They're not supposed to be joining these groups and stuff like that, and they're teaching them kind of how to be deceptive, and it's a problem. So some of them will lie, but a lot of the times you're right. I mean, there's some like very, very kind kids, which is what they're kids is what they are. And you can tend to have really good conversations with them, at least in my experience. I've had a couple bad run-ins, but funny enough, actually the really bad run-in I've had with a missionary in person, or the worst, I guess, was it was actually an older missionary couple. I don't know. I don't think they were like of retirement age, but they were a little like maybe like late 40s. And they were at I'm not sure if your area does this, but my area up here in DFW, the wards put on car shows, and it's like a missional thing for that ward, or for the missionaries rather, obviously. And I went there, and it was me and a few guys from my young adults ministry at church, and we were just kind of walking around and chatting, and I was talking to these either 2 or 4 missionaries, and we were it was guys that I think I'd already brought to my house and talked to them before, if I'm not mistaken. And anyway, this older lady, like again like late 40s, comes up and just gets in the group, and we're kind of just having a good conversation, and she starts being very passive aggressive. Like, I'm talking to these young men, and they're even telling her like, hey, like, it's like, they're trying to calm her down, and like, hey, it's fine. And then anyway, she starts getting really riled up with me, and her husband comes and gets in my face, bro, like nose to nose, and is like balling up his fist like he's about to punch me in the face. And they throw us out. And again, we're not like yelling at each other. It was a cordial conversation. His wife was honestly, I'm not just saying this because it happened, but I'm saying, like, I'm telling you how it happened. This lady just came in, and she started lighting the fire, and her husband, obviously, even with my wife, even if I feel like I need to defend her honor, I'm not dogging the dude for that. Like, he didn't know any different, obviously, but his wife was the one causing the problem, and he was trying to protect her. So you can't really say much about that. It's honorable, but yeah, dude, the guy got in my face and was about to just dock me right in the face, and they were just like, "Hey, get out!" I'm like, "Okay." Whatever. And yeah, that's probably my worst experience so far with a set of missionaries. But
well, that's nuts. Yeah,
it's crazy. Yeah. Which,
I think
again,
people
I'm
are
not sure if it's just
more unhinged in general.
Do what?
Yeah.
They're becoming what?
I think people are becoming more just like a little bit more unhinged and explosive in general. I think it's maybe cultural just across the U.S. right now. I think everybody's on the verge of crash out.
Yeah, I could see that. Well, but also, like, if you're not, obviously I do this all the time, so I have these conversations. So if you're more acquainted with hard conversations, you learn how to not like lose your cool in those kinds of like higher, if you want to call them like higher octane conversations. Some people just can't have them and not have their adrenaline pumping. You know what I mean? And it just makes it bad, and you can lash out. And I think that's probably what happened. She probably just wasn't used to having, conversations where, because like obviously with a majority of people, if you have a belief system, even like with me, you make it your identity. It's part of who you are. Right. And so this lady felt it's not just me attacking her religion, even though I wasn't yelling at her, but I was attacking her religion. She took it as a personal attack. She didn't separate it. So she took it as a personal attack and was obviously very upset. So anyway, I have no idea how we got here. Sorry for rambling, but we're just...
Oh, no, you're good. You're talking about your experiences and stuff with him too. And So someone in the chat was asking about like Book of Mormon stories or something, brought up like the 2000 stripling warriors, which is the one that's like supposed to be like the missionaries. That's what they use to like be like, that's what the missionaries are. They're the 2000 stripling warriors. You're going out, young men helping God or something like that. I know what that one is. It's from like Helaman, I think. But no, like the one I was referencing was from Mormon 8:37. Like if you read this whole chapter, it's almost like, and there's some of these in the Quran too, where it's like, I feel like there's a little bit of some inspiration here that went in. Is like, and I think like if you read the New Testament, if you read the words of Christ in red, and I mean, especially if you've seen The Chosen, like, come on, Jesus had a sense of humor. Like we know this. If you read it, like you can tell the man was like making some jokes. He was having a good time. He was a nice person. He had a sense of humor. So I think like there's a few things that got added into the Book of Mormon and the Quran that are like a little bit of sense of humor here to just show that it's like what this actually is. And I think the one in the Quran was the one that was saying that Jesus was the Word still, because that also says like in the beginning, the Word was of God and the Word was God. So the Quran contradicts itself and actually does say Jesus is God. The Quran contradicts itself because with the Torah, many people were testing Muhammad at the time, and he failed all the tests because his stories of the Torah were completely different from what the Torah is. And not only that, he didn't even understand what the Trinity was. He thought the Trinity was Mary, God the Father, and Jesus.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
You would think if the Quran is this eternally written book that is essentially directly transmitted from God, you would think that the omniscient God would know that Mary is not the third person of the Trinity.
Yeah, not the third person of the Trinity.
Yeah.
But so the one in the Book of Mormon was actually, it's really fun because it's kind of calling out the people in the church too. Because it says, "Behold, I speak unto you as if you were present, and ye are not, but behold, Jesus Christ has shown you to me, and I know what you're doing." So this is one of the call outs in the Book of Mormon. It does this a few times where it's calling out the people that are currently reading it, and it's supposed to be talking to like the modern church. And this is really funny because wasn't anything that was going on in the 1830s when Joseph Smith allegedly would have translated this. This is only something that applies to the modern day church in the 2020s here. And like, you know, it's been a thing for the last 50 years at least, not if not like since Brigham Young kind of took over. But it's for behold, you do love money and your substance and your fine apparel and the adorning of your churches. Man, Mormons get real hyped when they make a new temple. More than you love the poor and the needy and the sick and the afflicted, which is like this whole thing that comes to mind. It's like the Mormons do kind of become this rich person club. They're not very big on like actually helping people that are really that needy. And what they call, so they have this whole thing where it's like most Christians have this idea of faith-based salvation. It's like you believe in Jesus Christ. There is no way to the Father except through me, etc. Like, you have faith in Jesus Christ. That's your salvation through grace. And so Jews and Mormons believe you have to have like belief and faith in God, and you have to do divine works. Like you have to do works to earn your way into heaven, right? Like especially the Mormons, like, oh, you have to earn your way to like the third level of heaven, the celestial
kingdom. Yeah.
Yep. So these works aren't really helping poor people so much. And it's like it should be. Their doctrine and like, I mean, Christian doctrine alone teaches like you should be helping poor people. That's what you're supposed to be doing.
Right.
They end up defining these works in their own lives as helping other rich Mormons network and become more rich. That's their works, is helping each other out. It's a circle jerk, bro. They're not actually going out and really helping the people that need it because they're not part of the true church. They're not the God's chosen. They really act like they act a way about it. You see what I'm saying here?
I've never been ingrained in like inside of LDS culture, so I've never actually experienced it. Obviously, I've gotten the, you know, superficial outside. You know, you just talk to a nice Mormon and that's who they are. But so I've never got to experience it. I do want to hear. So Airman, are you a Latter-day Saint?
I was years back, and I have to agree with Hart on this and everything, because for what he's saying, and not picking on the Mormons on this, but even the Book of Mormon, where like a lot of what they get from the Book of Mormon, they talk about the golden scriptures and Joseph Smith. And I apologize. I wish I had more time to stay on this. I don't mean to jump in and jump out, but those
Oh, it's fine.
the golden tablets or the plated tablets that Joseph Smith quotably translated and went through, most of that goes back to what he was saying, even under old scripts for what the Hebrews were teaching at the time and what had started coming out through the 1800s. So while Joseph Smith quotably couldn't like really read or write and everything, individuals that were around him that enjoyed this idea and this principle and everything. And what's interesting with this, I don't want to mix this with Jehovah's Witnesses. Around the same time, Jehovah's Witnesses were coming out too. Okay, because they were just around. They actually came out a little bit ahead of the Mormons. Now, Jehovah's Witnesses at least stick within the gospel and the scripture overall, with the deviation of the Trinity and things like that. Getting
Right.
back to what Hart was saying, for me, where it really was is where the misinterpretation was of not just the cross, but in the actual scriptures. Because, like, when you take Malachi, okay, out of the Book of Mormon, and you're reading that out, that's a lineage history, okay? And that in itself being applied to the actual gospels and everything, it forces it out of context. Okay, it can be used to reference wise, but to actually sit there and use it back and forth, because the reason we have the gospel written the way it is so that this way you can actually revert back and forth in the Bible and see what Christ said and then where it came from earlier on in the Bible out of the original books from the Torah. So my main point on this, even with the multiple wives, that comes from the Torah. Okay, and it's not multiple wives. Jews don't have like multiple wives. What would happen is if somebody passed away in a family,
Right. It would
and
take their
that
brother's wife.
right, it's the brother's
Yeah.
wife, and they bring them into the household, but there was nothing sexual about it or anything else. Even out
Well,
of that,
well, so sorry, I
no,
don't
you're
mean to cut
good.
you off. So
You're fine.
it would have been sexual. So as far as like them take, so like if your brother died under God's law, you were to marry his you are to marry his widow and bear him and bear your brother a son. So basically, your firstborn would have been set apart with his widow as the heir to the dead brother's estate, essentially. And then any children following would be counted as your own. But essentially, yeah. So they would have to marry their brother's widow, have a child with them. First child is considered under God's law to be the heir to the dead brother's estate. So it would have been sexual, but it's not
Yeah, no,
like
not
God's not
disagreeing with you,
prescribing
but
polygamy. Yeah.
actually, if you go back out of the Torah for even Abraham, okay, and where it talks about multiple wives, where that multiple wives was is out of the fact of even with and like other, of course, individuals through the actual Torah, okay. But point of that, what you're saying, they would, if the brother's wife didn't have children and the brother himself was not already married with children, okay, it was viewed upon that they would come together. If the brother already was married to another woman with children, they would bring basically the woman into the house with them to provide for her, okay? But they would not have any sexual relations with them outside of the woman that they were actually married to. They would treat her as a second wife, okay, but there was nothing sexual that actually transferred with that.
I would just have to study that more. Yeah, I'm unfamiliar with like the stipulations as far as it goes. If you're already married and your brother's wife is now a widow, like what do you do?
Right.
So yeah, I would just have to study that more. So I can't give
No,
you
you're
any
good.
pushback
You're
on that.
fine,
But
man.
yeah.
And I think this is the great thing about this, because it's really opening up when you look at it as a whole for all of us to really go back and look at what learnings and teachings under the old Hebrew law were. What was the old law? What did it actually say? And what was it for the transformation that Christ did for us? Okay, and the atonement on the cross for the ascension
so that he could clean us all of the sins of Adam and Eve and our past. So then that way we had that full trinity of what we were actually transforming into to be washed of our sins from the past of our fathers.
Okay. Yeah, I'll have to do some I'll have to do some more study on some of that stuff, but I would say yeah, I mean there's
But I mean, getting back to this, what I don't like, I said, what I don't like with the whole aspect of the Mormon Church, as Hart was saying, and I've seen this, where yes, it's great what they do for the bishop's food and things like that. They'll give food to the poor, but they look down. Like if you hold any debt, which is ironic, like not talking about debt on a house, but if you hold like a lot of debt, you're less in the actual faith group out of like a caste system, and they will push you into certain directions. And when I say lead you, as he was saying, almost like a pyramid scheme. And then the people that are really, really rich and everything, they just get richer.
Yeah, I mean, there very well could be stuff like that, but again, I'm very unfamiliar with that part of it. But I am aware of the fraudulent things that the LDS Church has done with their money through the Enzyme Peak and stuff like that.
More I could go into this. I mean, I don't know if you've read years back. It was the massacre that took place out in Utah when the LDS
The Mountain Meadows.
settlers, first came out, and they literally slaughtered the other settlers and even Indians that were out there and completely eradicate them. That's why the federal government later on sent troops, because the LDS Church is the only, which is kind of ironic, it's the only church that the actual federal government went to, when I say to attack, because that's actually in the LDS scriptures where they buried the temple in Utah, and then they that way it was hidden, and then of course the troops came in, couldn't find it, and then of course they unburied it.
Yeah. Wait, are you talking about in Missouri or in Utah?
No, Utah. This was in Utah where the first temple was.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's actually, if you go into the temple in Utah, I'm not, again, picking on these people, because I used to be friends with a lot of them, and they're very good, some of them are very good people. I just don't adjudicate to what they're premising in trying to spread Christ's word, because I think that they basically tarnished his actual word that's actually there. But if you go into the original temple, that story is actually there, where the temple was at, they started building the temple, U.S. troops came in, the temple was then covered back up, that they went and basically, not themselves, but when I say most of them hid and pretended to be something else, and then of course they ended up going and coming back and then not rebuilding, but actually uncovering the temple and then building the temple. And then in addition to that too, you have stories of like the seagulls, because if you know the story out of the Torah where the Jew, or they're out of Exodus, they're fleeing from Egypt and coming into at the time
Canaan?
Judea, Israel, right, for basically 40 years. Okay, out of that, the reason I mentioned that with basically the Jews is because of the fact then the Mormons, what they did is have a story about seagulls dropping manna and everything and food for the Mormons when they actually traveled out west.
Well, yeah, I don't think I've ever heard that story, but I'll have to look some more into it. But my wife is wanting me to give her a phone call, so I'm gonna hop off here. And but it was good. It's a pleasure talking to you guys. Hope y'all have a good week.
Building the chat, man. You have a good week. God bless you, my man.
God bless, guys. God bless you. God bless you. Appreciate y'all guys. All right, guys, if y'all have enjoyed, hit the follow button over here on the TikToks. Be much appreciated. Again, if I hit your For You page, well, you might not never see me again, but by God's grace, you might. But it's not promised. It is promised for the most part if you hit the follow button. So do that. That would be much appreciated. Helps me out a lot. Our next goal is, we hit 3K last weekend. That's been the goal forever. Now we're trying to hit 5K. We're already almost at 3,100. So So yeah, so appreciate y'all so much hitting the follow and doing all that stuff. Do the same thing over on YouTube, guys. Appreciate y'all support over there as well. Please hit the follow or subscribe, whatever. And then if you're on Twitch, same thing. So all right, guys, appreciate y'all. Love y'all. Have a wonderful week. I should be back, I think, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Yeah, this was just a random midweek stream. Don't usually do this, so this is not my schedule. It's usually Friday night, Saturday sometime, and Sunday sometime. So be on the lookout for that. But you won't know if you don't follow. So again, do that. All right. God bless.